Dear friends, dear fellow conservatives, my name is Miklós Szánthó. I'm the Director General of Center for Fundamental Rights, a conservative Hungarian NGO. Sorry for that. And also organizer of CPAC Hungary. It's really a great honor to be here with you today, and I would like, of course, express my appreciation to the ID Foundation for bringing this forum to Budapest, which is the European capital nowadays of conservative revival or renewal. And it's good to see a room full of people who still realize and acknowledge that the basis of any productive discussion is mutual respect and the willingness to listen and comprehend what others are saying and doing. To tell the truth, that was the attitude of the EU's founding fathers, and for many years it guided the European discourse, but unfortunately, no more. That spirit of civilized debate may be present in the ample supply of this forum, but has disappeared in the European institutions keen on federalizing the EU. A new farcical or absurd imperialism has taken root there, embodied by the likes of Manfred Weber and other radicals in the European Parliament and other EU bodies. I say farcical because with all their imperious arrogance, the EU's political elite regularly falls comically short of expectations, especially if there is a crisis to address. And worse than incompetence, bureaucrats often go against the obvious interests of Europe and her citizens. Please contrast the handling of mass migration, the COVID crisis, or a military crisis and its consequences, including the energy crisis, by the EU and, for example, by Hungary. The European elites, driven by this postmodern ideology, engage in sweeping emotional gestures bordering on hysterics. Hungary, on the other hand, acts in a thoughtful manner, always focusing on practical solutions to the practical dilemma and putting her people's interests first. Despite having proven right again and again at every and each juncture, or perhaps because of that, Hungary, ever since the conservative government with the leadership of Prime Minister Viktor Orbán came to power, has had to contend with the incessant meddling and complaining of progressive bureaucrats and the European Parliament that has decayed into an ideological kabuki theater. Leftist liberal MEPs go there to grandstand and posture. Right now, for example, the LIBE committee is adopting, again, a half-baked caricature of a report on the rule of law in Hungary. Then they use, of course, their near-absolute control over mainstream media to project an image of acting on the most pressing issues, for example, male pregnancy, even as they ignore the true problems and interests of Europe and Europeans. All these rule of law reports and procedures serve obvious political purposes. In general, I see a double danger, two dangerous approaches launched by the liberal left. One is that has an institutional or seemingly legal nature and what I call outsourcing decision-making. Outsourcing decision-making from the local level to the federal level. This purpose is about to expand the power of EU institutions, mainly of the European Parliament and the European Court of Justice, at the expense of the member states. At every juncture, the left hopes to increase EU competences and limit that of the member states. It has come to the point where they invade competences clearly and explicitly reserved by the EU treaties for the member states, like mass migration, media, national taxation, just think about the global minimum tax, family policy, or education. The second approach is by using this previously mentioned so-called sneaking legislation, that they wage an ideological crusade and want to depict their progressive values as neutral and as global ones, the common values that we all share. Hungary is being punished for standing firm on traditional common sense values around which a wide-ranging national consensus exists. Like Hungary should protect its borders, should protect its constitution, enshrining the importance of national culture and historical heritage, or the fact that the mother is a woman and the father is a man, or the marriage is a union exclusively of one man and one woman. Or that, for example, that sexual gender propaganda has no place in schools and kindergartens. These principles are natural for us or to us, but are anathema to the left. The Article 7 procedure against Hungary, and of course against Poland, is a prime example of what has gone wrong with the liberal progressive mainstream, or more precisely, the neo-Marxist elites that currently control the European Union. It's plain for all to see that targeting the Christian conservative governments of Europe is a political act, poorly disguised, poorly masqueraded as a legal one. The rule of law is usually described as a neutral element of European values, but it has turned out in recent years that by rule of law or by democracy, they do mean ideological content. For example, that democracy should be liberal, or it is no democracy at all. In that sense, rule of law is being used as a cudgel that serves to conduct a witch hunt against those who dare step out of the liberal line. Indeed, European institutions look like a caricature version of the Spanish Inquisition, hell-bent on punishing anyone who sticks out of the great uniform blob that the liberal mainstream has become. This leads to terrible consequences. First of all, the rule of law itself is devalued to the point of negation. Using law to settle political scores in an arbitrary manner is the very opposite of the rule of law, where it is only deployed for the clearly defined purposes it was adopted. And second, this farcical conduct discredits the very European institutions the federalists seek to empower. And to add insult to the injury, this whole meddling in both Hungary and Poland is always designed to help the left against conservative governments. This is particularly egregious in these countries, in our countries, as we suffered so long under the Soviet communist yoke. The democratic transition of the late 80s and early 90s were only partial successes in a mean that communists preserved much of their influence here in this region, in politics, in culture, in media, and the courts. The EU's rule of law witch hunt ends up serving the interests of the post-communists in this region and their heirs against those of us who fight for true democracy and pluralism. So, when you hear about anti-democratic tendencies in Hungary, please do not believe the New York Times. The Hungarian story is only about demolishing post-communist hegemony, still living with us in various social substructures in this country. And beyond mere political revenge, the Article 7 procedure has another dark purpose, that of forcing a federal power structure on the unwilling peoples of Europe. The federalists' dream of a United States of Europe, where the hegemonizing ambition of the neo-Marxist progressive would bring its rotten fruit, destroy the EU as we know it, and bring total dominance over all Europeans. If we speak about true democracy, this approach is everything but not democratic. And just to mention another step on this liberal but anti-democratic path is the issue of the member state veto, which the federalists want to abolish. But please think about it. The institution of veto isn't even called veto in the EU treaties. What the EU treaties contain is a fundamental principle, a truly genuine European value, the need for consensus in decision-making. The various member states base their cooperation on the understanding that they cannot be coerced into a policy that they don't want to follow from the outside. That is what the federalists call veto, and that principle is what they hope to abolish. And while they are officially working on integration, on an ever closer union, in practice, they just accelerate this integration. Just a recent example to mention, while the Hungarian government, together with the European Commission, heavily works on a mutual agreement on EU funds allocated for Hungary, leftist MEPs are continuously urging the Commission to reject the Hungarian plans, although Hungary agreed to fulfill the technical professional requirements proposed by the Commission. Needless to say, this is not the Europe, the EU we joined, nor is it the one we want. After 40 years of living under Soviet communist oppression, we know the value of Europe, of returning to Europe, and we will work tirelessly to restore our continent to her true values, to revitalize the community of faith, culture, and civilization. We must return to the triune value of God, homeland, and family, which has made Europe the freest, the most advanced and prosperous region of the world, and we must reject those forces to whom this concept is not merely alien, but who are actively hostile to what we hold the dearest. A strong Europe requires strong member states and not a strong Brussels. The crises of recent years have clearly taught us that it is competent, strong leaders elected by their fellow citizens to serve the national interest who can move Europe forward and face the challenges of this increasingly dangerous world, not the elites of Brussels. In fact, whoever tries to prevent our countries from asserting the national interest violates a genuine fundamental European value. Hungarian conservatives, including, I think, politicians, intellectuals, and for example, the Center for Fundamental Rights, which I have the honor to represent here, work to realize the nightmare of the liberals, the efficient international cooperation of true conservatives. Because that is how we beat the left, take back Europe, and save our civilization. That is our interest here in this room, but more importantly, that is the interest of every single European. Please do not forget what Prime Minister Viktor Orbán said at CPAC Hungary: we should not play by the liberals' rules. United we stand, but divided we fall. Thank you very much.